Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Brosis YouTube channel. This is the KCJC Sports Talk. I'm your host, Ken Connell, and my co-host is.
Yep, John JC Campbell, live and direct from Kingston, Jamaica. Yes, sir.
So, as
Yes,
usual,
sir.
John, before I just want to say thanks to everybody who's subscribing to our Brosis YouTube channel. Well, I want to say to you guys that we appreciate your subscription, and we want to admonish you to continue subscribing, share, and like this program. John, it's so much to talk about today. We're going to do a lot of cross talking about what's going on in the world of sports. So, if you may, I always give you the first opportunity to start off with whatever year you want to start off on.
But I have to start with the football thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and especially Jamaica football because um, you and I are extremely happy that they have come to some agreement in regards to how the players' remuneration and management will be handled. I
Mhm.
think have come to an agreement. We are also hearing that Coach Whitmore was most instrumental in
Yes.
leading things towards an agreement or towards a settlement. So we give thanks for that. But perhaps more importantly is the fact that we can now train. We can
Hmm.
now train with this load of uncertainty about payment and so on. Heavying down on the players. Because I firmly believe that you can't get the best out of a player if your mind is riddled with thoughts of if I'm going to pay, if I'm going to get enough pay, not going to get no pay, how much I'm going to get. You can't play your best like that. I don't know about if you could play, but what is that? So I'm happy that they have come to an agreement and we can start playing now. We can start looking at the foreign based players more. We can start scrutinizing them and seeing exactly where we can put them. One thing is for sure is that the team won't be easy to pick. In fact, it's going to be a very difficult team to pick, and it's going to take everything out of Whitmore, his vast experiences or whatever he has in there, to put the best team on
Right.
paper on the field. you know. Well, I don't know what you think about it, but boy, that I want to start with that.
Yeah, but that's a good area to start at. I was wondering, should we talk about it first or should we talk about it last? But it's definitely, for me, it's the most uplifting story since the month started, because we've been talking about this over and over. We're talking about or concerned about the fact that they couldn't reach an agreement, and we talk about what some of the reasons why we thought it was taking so long. One of the biggest mistakes that was made is that the negotiation became public, and whenever you have a negotiation like that and it becomes public, it's going to be very difficult for a resolution to take place. But so it's very uplifting. Again, I want to say it's very uplifting to me, because I'm one of the strong believers that even though um, the team actually agree on principle. As far as I know, they haven't really put pen to paper yet. But yes, I heard from reliable sources that Theodore Topper Whitmore tapped into the whole situation and become actually a mediator, and talk to the players, and then the players decided to go in and accept what was offered to them by JFF. So again, last week I mentioned that Theodore Whitmore is actually gaining a lot of recognition as it relates to me, and getting a lot of props as it relates to me, because I was one of them people who was a little bit critical about whether or not he, as a technical director or as a manager, if he was technical enough to deal with um, tactics and so forth when it comes to tactical skill and technical skill based on where football is nowadays. But, you know, um, with people like, start seeing some really good signs from him, with people like Robbie Earl, who is a a known analyst and a former national senior player, coming out and saying that he believes that he's doing a great job. And then when I look back and do some evaluation myself of what's going on, I really believe that he's doing a great job. And it is definitely a plus for him. It's adding to his resume, because to know that the federation could not come to an agreement, and the moment he intervened and get involved in the process, um, then they have some kind of resolution. For one thing, I know that it's going to be signed, because the players, as far as I know, advise their lawyers to or their lawyer to go in and accept what was offered. So, Theodore Whitmore is making a name for himself. I strongly believe that we should all, embrace him now, and allow him to coach, and let's see what we can get, because he got the caliber players to not only make it to the World Cup, I believe, but make it beyond the first round, depending on what type of draw they get.
One thing is for certain though, most of the critiques, most of the football analysts seem to think that we stand our best chance at this time of qualifying for the World Cup. And I guess that will be proven more so later on when the CONCACAF Gold Cup comes around, because this team, whatever team is picked now to play CONCACAF, that will give us some insights into, and let's assume that we do well at the Gold Cup, that will give us some insights into what the team will be like in qualifying for the World Cup. So this upcoming CONCACAF thing is going to be critical. I'm sure Coach Whitmore would agree with me. Because remember, we haven't been playing much football as a team. And to me, if you have not been playing football as a team, then therefore you can't expect to give up your best or to show up your best, as was evident when we played the USA a few weeks ago, and we lost, I think, 4-1. That was a team that was just pulled together one training session, and I still don't believe that we could have done much better. All right, maybe a little bit better, but so it's going to be interesting days ahead with the team. I'm really happy that they have come around this corner, and I'm looking forward to great things from them, especially the English-based players. Let us see how they mesh and merge with our local cadre of players.
Yeah, definitely. With this latest contract terms offered by the JFF, the team can now begin real preparation to try and feel the best possible team for the upcoming Gold Cup. And again, I do believe that the process, though we might think about how long and drawn out it was, at least there was some form of communication that took place now with the JFF and also the players, and with Theodore Whitmore. So you can see the pieces coming together. It's always good to have harmony when you're trying to form a team that you want to be competitive. Now, we have to realize that if the more we improve our standing in the FIFA ranking, the better chances our players have to get pick up business abroad, to be signed to another team, or to be transferred, or to be loaned to another team, whatever the case might be. So it's not just about, when you look at it, it's not just about the Gold Cup and the World Cup coming up in 2022. It's also about players being able to pick up some contract someplace to be able to feed their family. You and I listened to some report that was sponsored by the Kiwanis Club the other day in regards to sports in general in Jamaica, Vera Sports. And one of the things that they pointed out, the guy who was in charge of football, one of the things that he pointed out was the fact that he can't recall having to bail so many players. So it tells you that football as is an avenue for social and economic development. So, as a result of that, I tell you, man, this is very exciting for me because what we believe in and what we are always trying to push. And I do believe that this now allow the players to settle in and train hard. And I believe this set of players are determined. The one that I've been listening to on various interviews, people like Damian Lowe and Lawrence and so forth. These guys are very determined and they're fearless. They believe that they have the talent to go out there and compete with anybody in the run of the World Cup. So hopefully it's going to play out on the field and everybody's going to be set. I know that the Michael Ricketts, who is the JFF president, was very pleased. And I'm not one of those person who, when I'm critical of somebody, then I can't turn around if I see the people are making changes. Because as a sports talk show, we don't find no pleasure in calling anybody out, no organization or the government. However, as a sports show, if we see where somebody needs to be called out and it's going to impact sports in a positive way, we should not be hesitant to do so. And that's exactly what we did. And some of the things that we're asking for, it's been presented to the players now, and we now expect that everything is going to change around. Now we believe that in order for the players to play well, then this had to take place. So now we get a chance to see the players champion the sport that we love so much, given this opportunity.
Yeah, well said, well said. But you know what? It is dawning on me that the same crisis that the footballers had in terms of the negotiations of monies and so on was the same crisis that the West Indies cricket team had too.
Right.
So I'm wondering if this is something that is typical of our side of the world or what, because remember the cricket team also had a serious issue with fees,
Right.
and what they should get. And they, at one point, they refused to take the field to play a game when they were on tour because of unsettled issues with fees. So we can't overemphasize the importance of the organizations making sure they settle these things so that the players don't carry this burden of uncertainty, along the way. Cricket, football, the same thing,
Yeah,
But
because you and I believe that in order for the athletes, especially when we're talking about football right now, but in order for any athlete to be able to champion their sports, then there are certain things that has to be in place. They must be in place. And one of the things that we saw was that we thought there was a distance between the federation and the players. And think about your governing body. There is some distance between both of you. You can't communicate, and there is some level of animosity. And you see whereby there is eliteness, and you see some sort of a bunch of different things that we could name that is involved. And when you see that, it has to cause some concern, because that's usually where the breakdown in whatever you're trying to achieve takes place. When there is not real communication, and whereby you can't sit down and talk to the federation about your concern, especially when it has to do with remuneration and safety and so forth, because I get to understand that safety was involved. So when it comes to stuff like that, if the federation is not willing to sit down and talk to the players and resolve all of these issues and bury the hatchet on a lot of different issues, then what usually happens is that you have a breakdown in whatever sport that is. So again, we need to be more demanding of the sports federation in Jamaica, especially, to make sure that they have a system that will work, and not only will work for the senior national team, but also a system that will work for younger players also.
speaking of that, well, here's my final question on that. Do you think, or does anyone out there think, that Coach Whitmore has what it takes to put the best team forward. And I don't want to say it's guarantee, but best team forward to ensure that the team moves forward and qualifies for World Cup. Do you think Theodore Whitmore has what it takes? I wonder if I'd love to get feedback from people, because some persons are actually saying, well, they don't think so. Others are saying he does. I wonder what the feedback would be from anybody else. What do you think?
It's a shame. It's a shame that in order for us to find that out, we have to wait until after the Gold Cup and the World Cup in order for us to really find that out. Because like I said, when you have people like Robbie Earl, who is a top analyst as it relates to Premier League football and so forth. When you hear a person like him said something like that, then it's something for you to look at. And I've been looking at certain things. Like I said, I watched the game against United States of America, and though it was not the team that would be fielded if there wasn't a negotiation going on, but yet I saw some positive. I for one saw a lot of improvement as it relates to the mental aspect of the game. As it relates, when I talk about the mental aspect, is the temperament of the players. And also that is very important, because we used to be always arguing among ourselves whenever a mistake is made, instead of maybe patting the person and person admitting, oh, it's my fault, or whatever the case might be. We argue with each other. And you don't play football that way. For international audience, we're talking about soccer. Also, I've seen some improvement as it comes to the technical aspect of the game, whereby I saw some spacing, good spacing. The thing that I saw is that we weren't using the spacing effectively because we weren't getting the passes through, and that's a concern of mine always. What I'm concerned about as it relates to Whitmore, it's not even so much the mental aspect of the game, because I think that he has the players so well motivated that is going to fall into place, and some of it is going to depend on the player themselves, because some of it is more internal, some of it is taught behavior, and some of it is going to be internal as it relates to the mental aspect of the game. But my concern when it comes to Whitmore is the technical and tactical aspect of the game. That's my concern. And it's going to be very hard for you to actually assess or evaluate him on that until after the Gold Cup and the World Cup, because, you have to first give him the product to work with. Now he has the product. Let's see what he's going to do.
Yeah, that's my point.
If he can't produce with what he have now, then you know that there we have a problem. He got to be replaced.
Yeah, that's my point too,
So,
as I said, it's not going to be an easy team to pick.
It shouldn't, I agree with you, because now you have a greater pool to select from. But like I said, that's going to depend upon certain things. He got to figure out what he's going to use. Is it going to be based on international experience? Is it going to be based on, games? Because we're going to be suffering as it relates to international friendlies and so forth. We're going to be suffering because I saw some publication by the JFF, the General Secretary of the JFF, Dalton Wint, and he was talking about the cost of the federation, the cost of the football to the federation, and he's saying it's going to be over $1 billion to sustain the national men's team program during the upcoming FIFA World Cup and qualifying. You know what I mean? So they already start complaining about money. So my thing is that what are they doing to kind of attract, private funding and so forth, because that's their job to do also, to go out and attract private funding. And I don't think a lot is done, and also government involvement also, public involvement also. not just private but public involvement. What are they doing? So I already see that there's going to be an issue. So based on this being out there in the public, I'm very certain that there's going to be an issue, and hopefully they can find a way to ensure that they get the amount of international friendlies that will help them to become better for the World Cup in 2022.
Yeah. There's a serious disadvantage that we have. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I want to wish Theodore Whitmer and his team the best. We look forward to some good football along the way. But as you know, stick up in here. It's this football is in the air now. Pretty soon we should be having like our Doncaster Cup team and so on, and Manning Cup teams in training. I'm wondering if come September we'll have another cancellation of schoolboy football. I'm really wondering about that. I mean, I don't know if it's early days yet, but I really wonder if we're going to look at another season of cancellations of schoolboy football, because pretty soon, you know, the teams would have been, you know, would be training now, would be getting ready to get into camp and so on, and start to do some little preliminary work. You can't do that because of what's happening with the virus issues. I'm really wondering, and I'm hoping that it's not a case where we have to cancel again. Come thing, you know, it's going, because that is where the creme de la creme, that is where the talent pool comes from, you know, from the schoolboy football. And if we're going to, if that is snuffed out for 2 years, then you know that it's going to set us back, seriously set us back, you know.
So what do you believe? You know, we listened to that Kiwanis what is it, Zoom meeting the other day, and we listened in, and I just want to get your take. I don't mean to put you in any spot, but do you think that the government is doing enough to ensure that resumption in these sports? You think they're doing enough?
It's a good question, but not the easiest question to address. I tell you why. Because first and foremost, above everything else,
public health.
The government has to focus primarily on the preservation of public health.
Right.
Everything else has to be secondary. Everything else has to be secondary. All right. So once they are assured, or they have assured themselves that, okay, we have this under control, then they can now raise their head up and say, all right, we can allow this to happen. We can allow that. And right now, they are confused with the issue of maintaining public health. It's not easy, especially in a country like ours. It's a small country and we have very close populations and so on. So it's very, you know, our hospital systems, for instance, we can't take the risks that an America or a Canada would take, because we cannot handle the numbers of persons who's right now the hospitals are overwhelmed. The doctors and the nurses and health professionals are under some duress. You know, so they have to act based on how they see the best interest of public. No, mind you, where I see them at fault is I don't think they had enough dialogue with the various sporting organizations.
Exactly.
For instance, an organization like cycling. Cycling could be done. Cycling is not a hug up and lick up and contact sport. That could be done. You know, so even perhaps table tennis to a lesser extent could have been done, because you have space, you can maintain, and maybe even track and field, as the track and field experts are saying, could have been done, you know, but has to be handled. Is it a question that they're not too sure who to trust? They might say, yeah, go ahead, and then it turn out to be chaotic, hence they're being super guarded and super aware of, you know, all these things. So again, just to answer your question, yes and no. I don't think they had enough negotiations and so on with the experts in the field. And no, they couldn't do any better because their primary focus is on public health. Everything else has to be secondary, and that is it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. Public health is definitely first, but my question is, when you look at, and like you said, that our healthcare system is totally different. We already have a healthcare system that, in my opinion, is actually failing. Not because of COVID, it was failing way before COVID. And now COVID is showing how poorly equipped we are, our healthcare system really is. But I also have some concern whereby I still believe that a major part of the problem is the distance of the distance between the state and sports. They have a minister of sports and what culture and entertainment, but I think that Jamaica on a whole, or they're not just Jamaica, but a lot of Caribbean countries on a whole, still see sports as a form of entertainment, but not the form of entertainment that can produce, you know, very good earning careers, and they're mistaken. So the government right now, whilst they are really focusing on public health, just like you said, I don't think they are lobbying enough with the different bodies in sports in Jamaica to come up with solution as to how for the safe resumption of sports in Jamaica.
But
By us listening to that Kiwanis meeting the other day, you see that there are many of these guys who are chairperson of the various sports in Jamaica feel the same way that we feel, and we've been talking about this even before they discussed that in their meeting, that the government just need to get more involved. I think right now the government is just like anything else before COVID, whereby they just focus on, it's just they need not tunnel vision in administration. They need peripheral vision in administration. Right now, it seems like they just have tunnel vision, and the tunnel vision is just focused mainly, just strictly on public health. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to develop some peripheral vision as it relates to industries, so because sports is an industry, and try to find a safe way for sports resumption. Other countries around the world, you know, example, United States of America, European countries, countries whereby they have a higher rate of infection than there is in Jamaica, and they're playing sports. And they're doing some of the things that is very scary to me, because right now in basketball, I still see guys hug each other. And I still see guys in football, European League, I still see guys
all right.
hugging. There are blueprints
Well, let me
that,
jump in there.
yeah?
Yes, let me jump in quickly because I'm glad you mentioned that. And that again points to the difference in our society in terms of availability of resources and how we use resources and so on. For instance, the other day in cricket, when they went, was it India or so, they were able to establish what they call a bubble.
Right.
This bubble, yeah, they went from the hotel. Everybody who came into the hotel they were tested first and cleared of any kind of viral infections. They stayed within the hotel. They had no contact with the outside world. Food, everything was done in the hotel. They leave from the hotel and go to the plane or the competitive area. So they had no contact. We cannot afford that. And this is what I'm saying. We are constantly at a disadvantage, I feel, when it comes down to these things, because we can't do that. We cannot. The only country in the region who probably could try that is perhaps Trinidad, and not for too long. But the British can do it. The Americans can do it. The Australians can do it. They have the resources. We don't. So when you see the basketballers hugging each other and so on, that's because they're in a confined space.
Right.
They're in a confined space and everything is controlled. We can't do that.
It's still scary for a lot of us who are into sports. It's still scary. Whether or not they're in a bubble, it's still scary to see them hugging at this time and so forth. But yeah, it would be very costly to Jamaica, of course. But I have to say to you, John, one of the things that why I came up with, why I'm saying that is that they have successfully, during this COVID period, staged track and field meets, right? And they haven't used that blueprint any further. But yet there is no report that there was an increase in the COVID rate in Jamaica as a result of the track and field meets that they had, the few track and field meets that they've had. So and track and field, just like any other sport, you say, well, it's not a very high contact sport as like if you're playing like football or basketball or something like that.
Yeah.
But yet still, there are no track and field meets going on in Jamaica right now. So I still think that when you look at it from one side, we can always look at it and say, yes, it's because we might not have the finance to create bubbles for these various sports. But also track and field, which is not a high contact sport, and you mentioned cycling, is still not going on because of the COVID restriction. So I do believe that the government, like I said before, right now they really just have they have tunnel vision as it relates to taking care of the situation. The focus is just on that, and it's not so much on finding ways to open up without increasing the positivity rate as it relates to the virus. So I think what they need to do, they need to talk more with the various chairperson of the federations and come up with ways to try and see how they can do that. And from the meeting again, the Kiwanis meeting, a lot of these guys said that the professionals are there. The guys who have the brains to deal with stuff like that were right there in the meeting, and they all share pretty much the same, come to the same agreement. So it's just for them now to speak to whether it's the Minister of Sports or whoever they're supposed to talk to and try to come up with ways to go. And like I said before, I definitely feel that they can copy, not necessarily the bubble I'm talking about, but they can copy some of the other things on field, sanitation and so forth that's done as it relates to playing on the field. So something can be done. I don't think there is enough that's being done. And it's for the various federation to go and be a little bit more demanding of the state to try and open up so that some of these sports can resume.
I think that is
And
going
I wanted
on as we speak. I was saying that I think that is going on now. They're discussing things now as we speak, as you're suggesting. I think they're kind of doing that now, but again, with a lot of caution and so on.
Again, John, we can look back and we can attach this to it too. We know that in order for athletes who are dreaming of making sports a career, in order for them to get good in the sport, they have to embark on the sport at a young age. And we're actually, because we're not doing enough. I don't think the government is doing enough, to be honest with you. That's what I'm going to say. I understand the public health situation is number one. But when you think about some kids who want to, make sports a way of life, they have to embark on the sport at a young age. And we talk about it before.
But I guess the question is, how do you do that in this era, in this time, in this period? How do you engage youngsters to do any sport?
But before that,
how do you do that?
Before that, remember we talk about different facilities in Jamaica that are not being used. You know what I'm saying? Remember we talked about that a long time ago?
Yeah, but my question is, so we have the facility. What facility are you talking about? And how do you use the facility in a safe way so that we don't have a crisis on our hand? How do you do it? The facility might be there, but how do you manage people? How do the protocols,
okay.
How do you observe that? What do you do, really?
If you're talking about contact in the sports, just like what you could do is, you could do it in shift. Like, let's say if you're talking about football, right? Using the same space, but then you maybe use 6 aside instead of.
But even if you do that, that's it. You can't do that like a sport like football. Maybe you have different sport with that different degrees of should I say infectiousness then. So a high risk sport is like basketball, football, netball, and those kind of sport where you have to rub up with people. That's a high risk sport. Then it comes down like a cricket, it might be a lower risk sport, and it comes down to, well, cycling is even a lower risk sport. Skiing might be a very low. So it has grades of what is high risk and
Exactly.
so on.
But see, I was
Right?
going to say, John, what I was going to say, you don't have to have the normal contact that you had before. But remember that
In a
most of
game like football, in football,
no, you don't have to have the normal contact. You could do drills that you don't have the normal contact. What we're
well,
talking
drills.
about,
Okay, I understand
there is
drills. That's what
no
I'm saying. But
activity whatsoever. You know, some activity is better than none at all. You see what I'm saying? There is no activity.
okay, well, point taken. No, point taken. No, I'm
Yeah,
not
so
making.
that's what I was going to say. So you break it up and then you do drills like that. And some of these drills are very important because sometimes you see games and some of these drills are not, you don't see it in the game. So it would benefit. Remember, even netball is at a standstill. Nothing at all. They're not doing anything except for the players who are playing abroad. You know what I mean? I think that's what, 11 players now in netball playing abroad, which is, something that we have to applaud. Once again, it's just to see what it can be obtained from sports if you really want to make it a career. 11. I couldn't believe it when I heard that number because I know usually we have
Yes,
one
man.
or two players. I think we have
No, they have no.
Australia.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, certainly over the past what, maybe 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years even, the number of players going to play professional leagues in, especially Australia, the number has increased significantly. Yeah, man, they're
Yeah,
looking at
70.
Jamaica. Yes, man, but I know, I gather what you're saying, that there has been shouts of frustration coming from the netball camp,
Yes, yes.
Jamaica camp,
Hmm.
because they're not able to play. They're so again, it's the same thing. They're not able to play any netball, so therefore the the kids or the youngsters who should be coming up and taking the place of the older ones, that is going to have a little dent again. That is a whole thing. Man, it's really, 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 you know,
Yeah,
netball is.
something needs to be done. But like I said, it's overwhelming for the government right now. I understand that, but I think that the reason why some of us are still very critical about what's going on is the fact that before COVID, not much was done. The government was always focusing on only a few things, mainly tourism, and then just look at people like just look at people like you know, Usain Bolt and look at Shelley and Fraser Price. Look at their contribution to the Jamaican economy. Look at their contribution not only to the Jamaican economy based on the economic value, but look at it with social aspect of it, bringing teams together to compete against each other, especially Shelley and Fraser Price with football and so forth. So it's beyond just the economic benefit. It's also social benefits. And so I think that until the government of Jamaica, realize that sport is not just for entertainment purposes, but it's a huge socio-economic
No, well,
benefit to the country, then we're not
yeah,
going to see
I
much
think,
difference. So we're talking about
yeah,
it.
I think they have realized that. I think the Minister of Sport, right, we responsible for sport right now. I think she has, because she's very experienced, eh?
Yes.
And I think she has realized that as a minister in charge. But in terms of the implementation of certain um, programs or measures to make the best of it, I don't think we're quite there yet. Um, but I must say, though, that there's a lot more talk now about professionalism in sport and sport as a profession. And I would have mentioned some time ago about the football, the local football, where they're now going into almost a higher level of professionalism in the football. They established a new organization to look over football, local football. So it's happening. But you're right. We have played scant regard over years to this. because we really didn't see how we could make it, a business entity. I think now, though, I have to say that it's happening, but not at the speed at which we'd love to see, but it's happening. I want, since you're on track and field, you're talking about a little track and field thing. I think I want to segue into a little track and field, because you know what, they have in the world relays are coming up shortly in, I think, May 1st and 2nd, and Jamaica, interestingly, are sending a 39-member team to this fifth world relay in Poland. In Poland. Now, here's a story. My question is, I am wondering if this 39-member team, wonder if the team is adequately prepared, given what we have been going through for the past year. Perhaps not, perhaps who knows. But more interestingly, the team that was picked has had people like Asafa Powell in it, and Nesta Carter, old guards. And they were named on the team chiefly because of their saying to the association, to the J3, is that, hey, I am available. So they use some kind of rankings to see who could go and so on. So that aside was picked and the best went. Is who, no matter who said, listen, I'm available and I have been, I have the ranking and they are going. It's going to be so interesting to see what Mr. Safa, is your boy Tino.
No.
To see what he does.
No,
I am really wondering if he can really make a significant difference in what we expect of him this time. God,
John, again, when I'm talking track and field with my friends, then I always be very honest about it. And if any of my friends are listening, they'll tell you from years ago, I told them Asafa Power will not run another 9.8 anything, years ago. And I told them about Blake. Blake has everything that it takes physically to run and run very fast. But when a person sustains an injury that Blake sustained, you have to wonder about their mental recovery, especially based on the fact that this is a guy who in a professional meet got caught sitting in the blocks when everybody else is running. So the starter say on your mark, set and fire the gun, and he's still sitting in the block. So the starter didn't call back the race because that comes from focus. So when you see that, those are all indicators to say, is this guy mentally prepared to run? And
that's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. That let's see what happens.
And so when you look at them, even though they have the physical capability, you have to worry about the mental. And so Asafa Powell is training hard. I got to give it to the guy. He's just somebody who trains very hard and love the sport. And I've done a lot for the sport. But you have to be realistic. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about him. I can't tell him when to quit. But I know that I'm very concerned about the team that we're sending because I believe we're going to embarrass ourselves. I believe.
Well, that is the point. That is.
But guess what?
That is what I'm asking.
They couldn't have done anything because they just selected the team based on who said that they would be available and also based on ranking. So it's not just based on who said they were available, but then they also look at the ranking of the individual, and that's how they were selected. Because we have some athletes coming up that I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing very well by the time we get to the Olympics later this year. Oblique Seville, for example, is one person who is doing pretty good in the 100-meter. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some better, more and more PR coming from him, personal records coming from him. So it's good for us to send a team, but I'm not expecting a whole lot from the team that they're sending, to be honest with you. I'm not expecting a whole lot because most of
that is my point.
Except for Elaine Thompson is going, right? Elaine Thompson, Hara, she's going, right? I don't know about anybody else that I can really say, well, expect a lot from them. So when it comes to I know that Shelley and Fraser is not going, Blake is not going. These two individuals, Fraser and Fraser and Blake, is going to be their final Olympics. So I think that they want to maybe try to ensure that they preserve themselves to see if they can, go out in a blaze of glory for their final Olympic. So on the other hand, I can see the Royal Olympic. I mean the Royal release is never a big deal as a release to the Jamaican athletes. We usually don't send the best team anyway.
Well,
But
while
we're on track and field, go ahead.
I was saying it's gonna be interesting though to see how the team that they send performs. And as you know, so Brianna Williams, or I would call her, among our best sprinters right now. She's not going either, they're all opted out.
Upcoming.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. But yeah, you're right. I think it's just we just send a team to, but we can afford to do that, eh? We can afford to just send a team,
Yes.
That's cool.
I don't know if you saw, but USA publication Track and Field News, they picked Elaine Thompson to defend her 100-meter title champion. It is. I bet some of these American sport track and field fans right now is thinking, what are they thinking about? Because this is an American track and field magazine, one of the top rated magazine also, and so they pick her to win the 100 meter and also to be runner up in the 200 meter. So they pick her to win, and they pick Shelly and Fraser Price to be runner up, and Shakira Richardson to finish third, in the 100 meter. Now, I don't know if you know about Shakira Richardson, and she was doing very well, and then she fell off a little bit, and now she's back. As a matter of fact, I think it was on the 10th of April, she ran a 10.72 in the 100 meter, which was number one in the world this far, and ranked number 6 all-time on the all-time list on 100 meters, and ranked number 4 among Americans. But of course, when we talk about America, we're talking about behind Florence Griffith Joyner, red flag, behind Marion Jones, red flag, and behind who else is there again? Carmelita Jeter. So she's doing pretty good. But I do believe that the magazine of the prediction, it's only that I would reverse. I'm going to reverse their pick. I'm going to say Shelly and Fraser Price will be first, and Thompson will be second. And I think Richardson will definitely be up there in third, or maybe what's her name from England again. But I think that's between between first and second, between Shelley and Fraser Price and Elaine Thompson. Of course, if Elaine Thompson does that, she will be about the 4th or 5th woman to repeat as Olympic champion. And if Shelley and Fraser Price, no, she will be the 4th. Behind, I think, Tyrus and Gail Devers, and of course, Shelley and Fraser Price did so back in, I think it's 2008 and 2012, But if Shelley and Fraser Price win, then she would be the first woman to ever won three consecutive Olympics. So she has something to go and prove also, and it's also going to be her last year. So knowing who this woman is and how technical sound she is, I wouldn't be surprised if she, as a matter of fact, I'm picking her to win the 100 meters. And
Olympics.
Yes, and Elaine Thompson's as second. So I'm reversing.
You can pick as much as you want, but I don't know.
Remember, I said that, and also, they're saying that they expect the Jamaican female team to win about 7 medals, and they're expecting the men's team to win about 5 medals. And uh, you know, one of the things that I think that a lot of people are not looking at right now is the group of young athletes that Jamaica have. I wouldn't be surprised if Kimber Nelson is in that 100-meter final. So we might go back to the days when you have 4 Jamaicans and maybe 3 Americans and one from another country. But this Olympic coming up later on this year is going to be something else, because we have a lot of young athletes that Damian Thompson in the hurdles. You got to watch him also. I I gotta say that I'm watching Akira Nugent also in the 100-meter hurdles. So it's going to be something else, because whilst we have a bunch of athletes who have been there before, like in all events, especially sprint, both male and female, there are a lot of upcoming athletes when you look at the NCAA indoor performance and so far the outdoor performance, who I expect to do very well also, to expect to do extremely well. So it's
Yeah.
something else. They're picking right now based on what they see and based on before COVID, but I can assure you that we're going to get some surprises from some of those young athletes coming up. Well, what is more surprising is that they expect in Jamaica to get their medal not from the 100-meter or the 200-meter, but from hurdles and the long jump and discus. That's almost unheard of. Jamaica is depending on hurdle, long jump, and discus to get their medals at the Olympic. And surprisingly, they picked the Jamaica 4x100 relay team to be second, and the 4x4 also. I don't remember if the 4x4 was picked to be second or to win a bronze, but that is very surprising, because so far we haven't had anybody, to my knowledge, that dipped below 10 flat yet. So we'll see, because I know I see some people are promising, but there is something that I have to go back and touch on, and that is we didn't talk about the UEFA Champions League. It's down to the semifinals, and of course, as you know, my team is being picked by some as the favorite to win. That's Chelsea, and they're playing very well. I'm telling you the truth that um, Thomas Tuchel, he's doing a great job. He was the coach who led PSG to the semifinals last year, and now he's doing a great job since he took over Chelsea. Chelsea is a totally different team. They're playing very good in defense. Like have young Reece James, who is 21 years old, who is playing fullback, and of course we have Rudiger in the back also, and Aston Lacorte in the back also. They're playing very well, and they have young players like Tino Warner and Christian Pulisic from the United States of America. They're now starting and they're doing extremely well. So I'm really excited, of course, to know that Chelsea's been picked, and I do believe that they have a chance to win. Chelsea will be up against Real Madrid, and then we have Manchester City will be up against let me see what I just have a brain freeze, but let me see now. They would be up against who now? Wow, just had a brain freeze a while ago. But anyway, so it's going to be a very interesting semifinal, and I'm really looking forward to the semifinals coming up. So oh yeah, how could I forget? They're going to be up against PSG. And PSG was my pick along with Bayern Munich for the finals until I saw the draw when they were up against each other. So I saw the quarterfinal with them, and it was very interesting. It was a really good game. But anybody who is up against PSG, is in trouble. As long as you have Mbappe and Neymar playing the way they're playing, even though they're very weak in as it relates to defense and so forth. But those guys are so good that any team that they play, chances are they're gonna come out on top. And I had them picked to win, but based on the development that I've seen in Chelsea so far, not because Chelsea is my team, I think that Chelsea is maybe going to be the hardest team for them. If they meet Chelsea in the final, definitely I'm going to give the edge to Chelsea because of how Chelsea have developed, um, during this era with Thomas as coach, especially as it relates to the midfielders and the forward and the defense have come a long way. And of course, the goalkeeper is doing much better also. So, it's going to be very interesting to see as we go along how this turn out. But I'm picking PSG and Chelsea for the finals.
You will. I take your word for all of that. We'll look forward to some good football coming up soon. Yeah, well, yeah. Manchester City seems to be riding high too, so let us see how that goes. Right. So, but I want to just make quickly a note here on basketball, and it's one of the sport that has suffered tremendously because of the current situation. But lo and behold, Jamaica will be, I think actually tonight, they're playing a game, what they call the Central American Caribbean Tournament. And this tournament will, is used as a qualifier for the 2023 FIBA World Cup, which is going to, in 2023. So tonight we will play Costa Rica in El Salvador. Yeah. And if we can get through this round, it's done. But our team, again, consists of a nice mixture of local guys and quite a few foreign-based players.
Okay.
Guys who are playing, I guess, in the lower leagues of the basketball situation in the States. And again, the coach is actually a United States-based coach. He was born in the United States. And his name is Rick Turner. But he himself has said that, the uncertainty with the team because they have not been training together as a team. So here's the same problem again, where we have some nice players, but it might be difficult to put the best team forward because of the lack of practice time and, the gelling of the team. We are at a disadvantage. But this Central American Caribbean tournament, it has been going on. And we sincerely hope that the team does quite well in this qualifier coming up. Yeah, Costa Rica. In fact, you probably should check your news at the end of this program to see if we did well against.
Yeah, that's my life, John. Sports is my life. That's a big part of my life right here. Yeah, but I was listening again. We're getting such good information because we're always getting links to whatever is going on in the sports world in Jamaica, and I have to applaud you. Thank you so much for making sure that you always pass them on to me and see what's going on in Jamaica. So from listening to the person who's in charge of basketball in Jamaica, it sounds like there's a lot going on in that program that I was not aware of, that there are a lot of potential in Jamaica as it relates to basketball for guys who can pick up scholarship, just like you're at track and field in some school. I didn't know that. Because some of these sports that are popping up in Jamaica, I know basketball was being played from I was in Jamaica, but some of the sports that are popping up in Jamaica, like gymnastics and so forth, I don't know too much about them because they haven't been aired so much, I guess, because of popularity and also because of they're not well financed and so forth. But
that's a problem.
It was surprising to me when I was listening in and he was talking about some of the potential scholarships that might be lost as a result of being active, playing the sport. And so I'm certain that he knows what he's talking about. He must have gotten some recruiting.
Mind you, Jamaica, we have been, our kids, especially in basketball as well, kids have been going to the US on basketball scholarships, quite a few of them, But it's the type of news that you don't hear of much.
Right.
It's not track and field, it's not football, it's basketball. But there have been some, they've been getting some good scholarships in the United States. And this is why now this team that is being picked again has a nice mixture of Jamaicans who would have gone away some time ago and have now matured and are playing high level basketball. But it's just a pity that we can't see them. We can't see them in training. We can't see them in practice matches because of the situation. But we wish them the best. And as soon as you're done, please check the score against Costa Rica and see how it goes. And as you mentioned,
I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, as you mentioned,
I'll definitely do that. Some of the time. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying as you mentioned about unusual sport that we have been participating in, and you mentioned gymnastics. Let us not forget also diving.
Diving, yep.
Because this fellow by the name of Yona Knight Wisdom, he has now been given the green light to compete for Jamaica in the diving World Cup, which is in May 1st to the 6th. All right, that is going to be happening, as I say, May 1st to the 6th, and that is a qualifying thing for the Olympics coming up. So he's now in training. He's very motivated. He's diving. That's Jamaica again for you.
Yeah, the thing about it, I heard somebody said it, and it was an American reporter, was saying that Jamaica is such a small country, and then we produce so many athletes in so many different sports, especially in track and field. When you look at it, that's why it's surprising to me to know that we need to go to the rural relays, because we have not met the qualifying standard for the Olympic yet. The male team have not met the qualifying standard. That's unheard of. But we know that we are going to meet the qualifying standard because we know what we can do. But there's the sports that we play in Jamaica, we're so good at it with limited resources. And we talk about resources, we're talking about the type of coaching that they have here, for example, with basketball and so forth, and to know that we're doing so well that we're being scouted, and that's good.
We said it before, boy, that anyhow we got or we have in place structured programs to develop sport in all disciplines. Well, let me not say all disciplines, but in as many disciplines as we can. You'd be surprised the level of excellence that we can produce.
Again,
want of resources and facilities.
Again, John, it starts from the planning, and we talked last week. I talked about strategic provision, not only financial provision, but provision to aid in the development of various sports. Don't just look at one area. Sports of itself is an industry. Just like how tourism is an industry, sports is an industry, but we have to promote it as an industry. And so we first of all, we got to go out and find, we know we have to have the financial resources in order to do it, but also, we can form different organizations and so forth, and to at least start up these programs and find a way. The government got to find a way to get a little bit more involved in these programs. Like we said, that they mentioned again that there are facilities in Jamaica that are not being used that could be used for a different sport. And so forth. We gotta utilize these if we're gonna try to develop sport in many areas in Jamaica. So that's just the hope that the government is gonna get a little bit more involved. Don't just focus on tourism. Start focusing on sports. Just
sport and entertainment.
Right. Just look at what Usain Bolt is doing, the investment that he's making in Jamaica, and look at how he's in demand, in certain countries. And when it comes to, business meetings and so forth, as it relates to, sports as a business, look at how much he's in demand to go to these places.
Point taken.
Right.
Right. I also want to touch quickly on the time is about to expire on us, I suspect, but I just want to touch a little bit on cricket as well.
Yes, sir.
Because just recently, Jason Holder. You know, he was a former test captain, eh? He was named among the 5 best cricketers of the year by the organization called Wisden.
Wisden Almanac. Yeah, Wisden
Right,
Almanac.
exactly. They are like an authority on cricket. And they have named him, West Indian, as among the 5 best in the world. Now, I'm saying this because we have been suffering over the years with West Indies cricket not doing as well as it should. But yet, we have a Jason Holder, we have a Samuels, we have a Chris Gayle, we have all these the Trinidadian Passe, Pollard and others. We have all these persons who, in and of themselves, they are bright sparks. They on any given day they are great, but yet we still lag, and I'm wondering why. Why do we lag behind, or we don't perform as optimally as we should? And we have this abundance of talent. This is the guy, you know, who top cricketer, fight the best in the world in Test cricket. And not only that, but Kieran Pollard, I think, also was named among the best too in white ball cricket, 2020 cricket. He was among the best again. So we have these amazing players and talents, but yet when we pull them together to play the game collectively, something goes amiss. I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes I don't know how to think it.
Yeah,
is it administration? Is it what is it?
The thing that I want our listeners to know is that this Wisden Almanac is, this is a cricket is maybe the most trusting organization out there, the trusting body as it relates to selecting rural elite players. So for those listeners who do not know what it's all about, so this is not a local organization. This is something that was established from what 18 back in
64.
something, right? And this is the most trusted organization as it relates to cricket. So if they say that Jason Holder, who is just 29 years old, say that he's one of the world's elite players, then that's some honor. And considering the fact this is definitely improving or is boosting is already improving international profile.
Right, exactly.
He's playing in India. In India top league, he's playing in India. So and he's not the first West Indies player in the last 9 years. We had Shea Hope, who won it also in 2018, and our own Mark won it in 2013. So there is life in West Indies cricket, and for me, I start getting interested in cricket again very much so because the West Indies player are doing a lot better. And it's a sport that I don't want to die at all. I want the sport to continue because I grew up with that little transistor radio, waking up 4 o'clock in the morning, listening to West Indies playing what India and whatever country it was with my dad. So cricket is a part of me, and if I hadn't been, I haven't been paying a lot of attention to it for, I would say, but the last 5 or 6 years, I've been paying a lot of attention to it. And I really like this young group of players. I believe that they're determined. I believe that they're trying to prove those people who are saying that cricket is going to become obsolete. They're trying to prove them wrong. And, it's sports again. So if it's
not
sport,
cricket, but West Indies cricket.
Right, West Indies cricket. You know what I mean?
That's
So
correct.
thank you for the West Indies cricket. So I'm glad that they're putting up a fight and saying we're not going to allow this to happen. And I think it's coming from that. So sometimes some of these things help to spark and motivate people to ensure that this doesn't happen. So I'm very excited about cricket, John. And when I saw this in the news today, I was even more excited because you know y- the when his name among two I think it was two English cricketers who were very outstanding cricketers, and also a Pakistani,
Right.
uh, Rozana, whatever his name is, so it's something remarkable. And and hopefully, you know, it's rewarding to him because he put out a lot of effort in the tour against England. Against England, he put a lot of effort, and you know, I think the move that was made to bring in Brathwaite as the new captain was also, you know, due. But you know, we can't forget the contribution that he made as an all-rounder to West Indies cricket, going all the way back to the last tour against England. You know,
Right,
so
right,
let's
right.
hope that they will continue to gel and they will continue to.
And it's also good motivation for the younger cricketers, you know.
Yes, yes,
When they
definitely,
see that kind of thing, is you know,
definitely.
good motivation for them as well, you know. Yes, sir.
So yes, we have come to the end of another program, John. And are there any questions from anybody in the audience? No.
Um, no questions thus far.
All right. So again, we want to thank everybody for spending time to listen or watch our program, and we want to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to the program. And as usual, John, I'm going to drop the mic.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Yes, all right. Best wishes to everybody. Enjoy a great weekend coming up. Keep safe, keep alive, keep healthy. All the best.